Hey guys, welcome to HBCU Drumline Talk. Once again, my name is Ricardo and I'm joined by EP the Great, also known as Elijah Powell. Man, what a tiring and long but great season. It was some good things this season. Hopefully it was good to see everybody back in action this season. EP, you got anything to say on that?
Yeah, I'm just glad, was able to have a season, with COVID and everything. A lot of schools, they dealt with what they dealt with, but, looks like everybody came out on top as far as, getting through a season.
Yeah, this season, everybody is a winner. So from the drum lines to the whole band, everybody contributed. So it was really good to see everybody back on the field again. And, when we first started out, we first ended our first season, we ended with a preseason picks episode. That was our last episode that we were on. So we got together, EP and myself, and we looked at it, and we had a special guest on, and we picked our picks for this year. Now, I will say, some of the picks on my list, I was surprised this year, but hey, that's to happen as well. So transitioning to this episode is the first episode, a kind of prologue or preface to season 2. And now, who is the top HBCU drumline for 2021? And I tell you, this is a popular topic. Let's get on into it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to give you our picks for this year and who we thought was the best, our personal top 10, and we'll take it from there.
All right, Rick, before you go, just want to say, we left the home team out, Virginia State. So I don't want people saying, we biased, this and that. So we left the home team out. And like you were saying, it's our opinions, people. We not the god of, the drumline judge and whatever you want to call it. It's just our opinion, what we feel. Hope you enjoy the cast. So Rick, you want to go first?
Yeah, we're going to jump into it, and we're going to do something a little bit different, right? So I think we're going to start off with our number 10 spot, right? And for this, we're going to take a look at, what I took a look at is there are a lot of small lines out there, right, who don't really get a lot of play and don't give a lot of recognition. But I think my number 10 spot at this point definitely goes to Delaware State University. And I say this because of what they did. They had a lot of showing. They had a combined battle with Winston-Salem. I think it was North Carolina Central as well. And they just had a lot of changes up there, but they still managed to maintain their sound. And for a smaller line, they take my 10 spot.
Okay. Well, I'm in a whole totally different area for my number 10. I picked Alabama State as my number 10. Reason, compared to seeing them, previous years, kind of expected a little bit more from them this year. Not saying it was bad, but I have them at number 10.
That's interesting. Okay, that's good. So you picked Alabama State. I have Delaware State University. So here's the catch. So we can get a good representation of this. Who do you think would win in that battle, Delaware State or Alabama State University?
Alabama State.
Think Alabama State's got them?
Yeah.
I can agree. I do think Delaware State could go the distance, with them, but I think just Alabama State would just have a little bit more material wise. So I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you on that one and go ahead with Alabama State. So good. Take it to the next one, man. Number 9 spot.
All right. So number 9. I picked Tennessee State, my number 9. Heard some good things. So it was a video, I think it was them on the field. I think Killer Cav recorded it. Had some nice stuff. Some stuff in between the snares was, kind of iffy. But other than that, I enjoyed what I saw. But I do have them at my number 9.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So my number 9 is real different. It's Fort Valley State University, right? So here's a school that we don't really get to see, but when we do see them, they are representative, and they had some there's some high profile battles. You know, they played against Tuskegee. They had some good battles against Lane and North Carolina Central, and they held their own, right? They showed that, yes, they can play, they can, you know, chop out with the best of them, and they held their own. So my number 9 was Fort Valley State University. So if we really want to think about it, in that battle, Tennessee State, right, versus Fort Valley State, who do you have on that one?
I'm going to say Tennessee State on that one. Just because they got, you know, they deep. There's a lot of people, and in my opinion, I think size. I mean, size doesn't mean everything, but you know, in this case, they got so many different voices. You know, I think Tennessee State will come out on top on those.
Yeah, EP, you're on a roll because even though Fort Valley State is my number 9 pick, I think in a battle between Tennessee State and Fort Valley State, yes, Fort Valley State can stand in front of anybody. However, I do believe that the depth of their line, it just doesn't match up to Tennessee State. So we'll go ahead with number 9 as Tennessee State.
All right, so we're on to number 8. Who's your number 8, right?
Ooh. I'm not even gonna lie, man. I watched this Drumline. I've been a fan of theirs for years, and you know, sometimes they'll make my list, sometimes they won't make me. They made my list this year based off of what they did with Texas Southern, based off of what they did against Mississippi Valley State, and you know, most importantly, you know, they played against Jackson State. And the Drumline that I like for my 8th spot is this, you know, Southern University. You know, we don't see them battle a lot, but when we do, you know, it's them. And actually their sound of the line is clean from what I saw this year. And those references that I gave, you guys can go check them out. It's on YouTube. It's on IG where they post. They got a strong line. That's why I like Southern as my number 8 spot.
Okay. Well, number 8 for me, I'm going to say Hampton. Hampton, you know, I gave him number 8. Reason why, like I said, still, you know, some stuff with the snare as far as cleanliness. It's a new or young line, and you know, this got a new instructor, so I see great things coming, you know, coming from them in the future. But I had to give them the number 8 position.
That's interesting. I think that in analyzing that matchup, right, will we see a Southern versus Hampton, right? Honestly, in my honest opinion, this year, I would probably roll with Southern, a little bit more experienced line this year. Hampton, they can hold their own. I don't think not this. They're not ready this year. Maybe next year, just not this year.
For me, I'm gonna go with Hampton.
Don't go ahead. We'll circle back on this to really iron that out.
I think if it was a planned battle and they both had time to prepare for this school or Southern, I see Hampton coming out on top.
Hampton coming out on top. Okay, we'll circle back on that one. We'll put a question mark for our 8 spot, right? So just for a moment. Hampton, Southern, right? That's you. Wow, man, moving right along. Number 7, that's a good number. So, who's your number 7 spot?
7? Yeah, 7 is the best number.
Yeah.
I would say, so I stopped down in North Carolina. I gave number 7 to Central. They had some good stuff this year, but I think it was one video with them in A&T. I don't know if it was the camera, the microphones, but a lot of, you know, stuff between the snares was sounding, you know, kind of crazy. Other than that, you know, they had a very good season, you know, with their new instructor. But I give them number 7.
Okay, cool. I also, for number 7, and bear in mind to our audience out here, Elijah and myself, we didn't talk about this. This is the first time we're hearing this, right? So I don't know, you know, what he picked, or he doesn't know what I picked. I mean, we have our own personal reasons of who we liked. And for my number 7 spot, I also went with North Carolina Central. And there are a lot of schools in North Carolina. I just like North Carolina Central. They had a battle in Alcorn, and I was on the fence about this battle, right? Because this was at the beginning of the year. they had this battle, and it depended on which video you watched, right? And which angle you watched. Some people had a good angle, some people didn't have a good angle. The sound didn't come through, the sound didn't come through. Alcorn sounded strong, North Carolina Central sounded strong. They're my number 7 spot. You know, they did have a good showing, and they sounded really good when they did the mesh with Delaware State and Winston-Salem State, and they came through strong on that. And just, you brought up a good point. They had a virtual battle with North Carolina A&T. I personally just went with North Carolina Central on this. The sound came through just a little bit clearer for me with their line than A&T. Not to say that ain't taking anything away from NCAT. Just for my number 7 is North Carolina Central. So North Carolina Central battling North Carolina Central, that's period, plain and simple. Number 7 spot, North Carolina Central.
Yes, sir. Right, so we going on to number 6.
Ooh. Go ahead, jump in. Who's your number 6?
My number 6, and so in this line had, you know, a lot of videos, you know, on Facebook and the connection, a lot of videos, and they have came up tremendously. Never really paid attention to them, you know, until the last couple of years. But my number 6, I would say Grambling. Reason being, you know, they got a nice balance sound. Got some hell of a good players, especially in the snare line. But I gave them number 6. I still have some people above them that's, you know, but yeah, I give them a number 6 spot.
That's a strong line, and I could see why you would pick Grambling. They are a very strong line. I think for my number 6, I didn't pick Grambling, but I had Miles at Miles College. And the reason why is they just seemed like they were hungry too this year. They were a wrecking ball. You know, we saw some great things with them against Alabama State. A real good showing against Kentucky State. They had their own little bump session, which you see. And like I said, we go, and personally, it's kind of hard for me to make these battles, right? So I can only go off of what we see, and, you know, putting on the headphones and really looking at the video, not once, but just going over it and watching it over and over again. You know, Miles this year, they were hungry. They deserve a showing too. So if I had to say, you know, do we see Miles play against Grambling? I'm probably going to go Miles. They're hungry. They got the fire. They got the depth in that line, and they can go the distance.
I'm gonna go with Grambling on this one. You know, from their intensity alone. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Grambling.
Okay, cool. So got a question mark number 6, right? All right, folks, we jump into our top 5. Top 5, I'm gonna let you start.
Before you go, just to say, our criteria for these lines was, you know, balance and material. There was, you know, 2 things I was personally looking at when I chose my top 10: balance, you know, how the drums sound as a whole, tuning, and the material. You know, different rhythms, time signatures, or just, you know, straight up grooving. But that was my 2 biggest things when I was looking or picking my top 10.
Yeah, and that's a good point that you bring up. So I also looked at balance, you know, how intense the line is and how well they played the material. And, you know, most important for me is presentation, right? So it's very easy for me to get, if the presentation is not there from the jump, it's quick for me to really tune it out. And I have to come back to it several times and, you know, just really look at it. But those were the criteria that I looked at when I looked at these lines to get my list for the top 10 or the top 10 HBCU drum lines for the 2021 season as well. So I think we talked about number 6. So we're going to get into number 5. EP, I'll let you take it.
So it's your turn. I went first last.
Okay. So here's a line that you know, and we go back to our preseason picks. This is the line that I picked in the beginning of the season to be, you know, definitely a good line, and it's FAMU. FAMU for my number 5 spot. Man, they came in and they had a interesting showing against Southern. If you got a chance to check them out at the Florida Classic, it was a great thing to look at them play against the other Florida school. And they had some good, really close-up videos. Not a lot of the schools had these close-up videos. For one, they had in a lot. They had some warm-up videos. They just had a good showing. And by the way, congratulations, FAMU, for the endorsement that they finally got that everyone sees. So they're my top 5 spot. The clarity of their playing, they were on point this year.
Yeah, congrats on the endorsement. And also my 5 is FAMU also.
Yeah.
Between the balance, and I could hear some new material, sneaking in. So, and then with that many snares and stuff, it was sounding good. But yeah. I give them the number 5 spot just off the balance and, material. My top 5.
And I think just big ups to their instructors. We had them on the cast at one point, and I can tell they sound like a drum set on the field. That's what their sound reminds me of. And basically that goes back to who their instructors are and everything. So big ups to you guys, real clean sound. Well, let's get into number 4. Let's get into number 4.
This school that came out of nowhere. I ain't gonna say nowhere, but they came out the shadows. I'm gonna say Edward Waters down in Florida. Once again, the balance and the material. They was playing some stuff this year. They wasn't very big, kind of small, but it didn't stop them from, playing some nice stuff and sounding clean also.
And that's the big thing, folks. The small lines, they can sound good as well. And unfortunately, my number 4 wasn't a small line, and these guys are like an army. And there are one of my favorite lines, and I've stuck with them and I've watched them throughout the years, is Talladega. And that was my 4 spot. They are hungry, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next coming up years, especially with the changes that they're having with the school, and they're getting ready to get the football team as well. They want to eat too, and they're going to eat. They're going to force the issue. So my school is my drum line for number 4 is Talladega. They had a real strong showing with Jackson State. And I was really impressed with that because they just didn't back down. They kept it going. They stayed the course. A lot of their tunnels sounded clean too this year. And I think I had you and I talked about this well, with a line of that size, I always wondered about the phasing issues, but I didn't notice that this year, man. To me, they were on point, they were hungry, and they get that top 4 spot. And I truly believe if they were to battle Edward Waters, yes, Edward Waters could, stand in front of them. I'm going to roll with Talladega on that one.
Yeah, I probably had to go with Talladega on that one also, on that particular battle.
That 4th spot. We're in the top 3.
Top 3, this is very difficult for me. So my number 3, I got 2 schools. It was a tie. Jackson State and Talladega for the number 3 spot. Okay. When I see them two, of course they different styles, but they one the same to me. But I see them at number 3 because they both had a good season, clean, very clean, especially Talladega with them many people on snare. Them many people, period, in the line. But both schools' material, especially the battle between them two, that's on YouTube. I enjoyed that battle. Both of them, like I said, it was a tie for the number 3 spot.
Time for that 3 spot. So you have Jackson State and Talladega. It's interesting that we mentioned Talladega as you have them in the top 3. I have them in the top 5, right? My top 3 spot is interesting, goes to Tennessee State University, right? And I say Tennessee State because I've watched them through the years. They have definitely come up. And I just think they're on point. And they had a great bump session that was there. And that's not the first bump session they've done. Their tunnel was clean. Their march into the stadium was clean. They're really intense. They had a high school day, which they were out there. They played as well, and from a distance, they even sounded good, even on a camera that wasn't really good. They still sounded really good. I personally take them as my number 3 spot. And in this battle, I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, they can hold their own against Jackson State. Yes, they can hold their own against Talladega. I would take it as my top 3.
Okay, so a 3-way battle. I would. I would say Jackson State. No, Talladega would take it.
You think Talladega would? I think it would just be a really good. That would be a good battle to see, right?
Yeah.
Whoever fans of each school, I just say I think Tennessee State, in my personal opinion, would really do well in that and may come out on top.
Okay.
Boom, Alabama. Let's go at number 2. I pretty much spoiled it. My 2 spot was Alabama State University. And I felt that they were just on point this year. I think, let me just say that the schools, the one state out of this whole thing, Alabama had a really strong showing. The state itself had a really strong showing this year. And I have Alabama State as my number 2 school because, their tunnels were just super clean. The shows that they did were super clean. The performance, and you guys can check these out on YouTube. You can see them. Everything was just made sense, right? Everything was crystal clear. Really good school that I like to always go back to is as they play the leg tennis, and I just I don't know what to say, man. They got my number 2 spot because they're on point.
Okay. So number 2 for me, there's another time. Another time. So these 2 schools, of course, they always on top every year. They both had a young line, or they do have a young line, but their material stood out. Their balance stood out for me. I'm gonna give it to NSU and A&T, North Carolina A&T, for the 2nd spot. Cole still didn't put out too many videos, but the few they did put out, I heard some new materials, sneaking up in there somewhere. And of course, the field shows for both NSU and A&T, they always have good field shows with percussion, the drum lines. But them 2 schools, man, they're always pushing the envelope for all the material, and the sound. Couple of ticks here and there, between snare lines. Like I said, it's a young line for both, and I see them, getting it in next year. But NSU, Cole, still, those are my picks for number 2.
Okay, good picks. I can see why you would pick those 2 as number 2. In a 3-way battle at this point, I personally, out of all 3 of those schools, I like Alabama State out of all 3 of those. And I'm not saying who would win. I would say I would be really dialed into Alabama State in that one this year, based off of what the schools like NSU and NCAT did this year. Alabama State for me.
I will go with Cole still on this one.
Okay, good pick. So here we are, everybody. We didn't take too much of your time. We've come down to the top spot, and hands down, I'm not even gonna really talk on this line. In my opinion, it was just hands down, the best. Well, I wouldn't say, what would we say, Elijah? The top HBCU Drumline for 2021 is, in my opinion, on my list, is Bethune-Cookman. Hands down.
Well, that's my number 1 too. Bethune.
It's in any type of battle, any drum line going up against them this year, no matter who it is, it's just, it would be hard to beat. They have a pristine sound. They're polished this year. And that's one thing I noticed about them. And I don't have too much else to say. That's my top, that's my number 1 this year in showing as well. So Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, it's not too much, people know, Bethune's Bethune, on the material and the balance, no one I don't think no one topped them this year. Like I said, they didn't have too many videos out, but the ones they had, that I saw was on point.
Exactly. The balance, the intensity, the material, and the presentation, it all lined up. It all made sense, and they would be hard to beat this year.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. I mean, I'm glad you and I did this, right? Because we can come on and this is a conversation. There's going to be 100,000 different variations, right? And surprisingly, our lists are kind of similar, right? Outside of I think a couple of schools, right? There were a couple of schools on my list that I this year they didn't make my list for whatever my reasons are, but they just make my list. What do you think about that?
I mean, everybody has certain stuff they look for, or catches their ear or their eye. Like I said, mine was a little bit different from yours.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say I'm right or wrong, or you right or wrong. It's all opinions,
Yeah.
all opinions.
And that's good. So with this in mind, I think we can come to an agreement that HBCU Drumline Talk as a whole, number 10 spot goes to who?
Number 10,
Yeah.
who do we have?
At Alabama State.
Yeah, Alabama State, number 10.
All right. Our number 9 spot. What do you think?
I didn't write down your picks. I had Tennessee.
I also agree with Tennessee State. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I think here where we have the question, right? In a battle between Hampton and Southern, right? I mean, if we really think about this and if we're really out there just watching this battle, right? And we have to think about this year, right? Honestly, this year, you walk away and you say, who wins?
I'm gonna still go with Hampton.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'll walk away with Southern on this one. And not to say either one of the lines. I just favor Southern for example. They're a little bit more what's the word? They have a little bit more depth in the line. The snares is just a little bit more deep. Projection wise, I would go with Southern in that battle. Now, there are couple of things. Who could go the distance, right? Who can go the distance in that? Who would be the last one that walks away? Probably Hampton has probably got the more material based wise. I think that Southern would be cleaner going forward though.
Well, see, I think Hampton would be cleaner, but Southern would have more material.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Interesting. So we'll leave that as we'll leave our number 8 spot as Southern/Hampton on this one, right? So let's move on up to. I think we both agreed that North Carolina Central took our 7th spot.
Yeah.
6th spot. Who was your sixth pick?
I think it was Grambling.
Yeah, that's the one that we wanted to talk about, where the Grambling and Miles, right?
Yeah, I still got Grambling coming out on top.
I think it would be a good showing either way. I'm really this year. I'm moving more towards Miles this year. That's just my opinion. I just think there were a lot of drum lines this year that it really wasn't about the drum line, right? It was really about the band as a whole, right? Get it just back on the field. And I think, in my opinion, Grambling was one of those schools that was just, hey, it was just more about the band this year.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm gonna stick with Miles on that one.
Okay, well, I got Grambling on. Grambling's my pick. So
the case goes, we'll see number 6 spot, Grambling and Miles, right?
Yeah.
Top 5.
I think we both had FAMU.
Yep. FAMU takes that 5 spot.
Yeah.
4 spot.
I had Edward Waters. I forgot who you had.
Talladega.
I think we both said Talladega probably come out top on that one.
Yeah, let's leave Talladega as our 4 spot, right?
Uh-huh.
I think that would be a good representation in number 3.
Okay. So number 3, I had a tie with Jackson State and Talladega, so I guess it would be Jackson State.
You would take Jackson State?
Well, no, okay. It was the 3-way battle because I had 2, you had 1. So I had Talladega coming out on top for the number 3 spot. And your pick for number 3 was who?
Tennessee State.
Oh yeah, I got Talladega. Yeah, getting Tennessee. Just my opinion.
Yeah. I think it would be a great battle. So at this point, it's safe to say that number 3 could go off between Tennessee State and Talladega. All right, number 2.
Number 2, I had another tie. I had NSU and Cold Steel. Who was your 2?
Mine was Alabama State.
Alabama State. Yeah, I got Cold Steel taking that.
I'm gonna go ahead and stick with Alabama State on this. I like Alabama State. I think they can go the distance. Material wise, it could be kind of strange because, you know, material wise, I'm sure NCAT has all type of backflips and throwing the drums across the field or whatever you got going on. So I think I just would prefer Alabama State on this one.
Cool.
So
cool.
we'll leave it as Alabama State / North Carolina A&T.
Yeah.
And obviously our number 1 spot is Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune.
Yeah. So this is a good list. It was good fun. This was actually fun really talking about these lines. No favoritism to any of the lines. And as you can tell, between Elijah and my list, you know, there are some similarities. I think 2 or 3 numbers in spots are different, but that's you know, that's to be expected.
Yep.
And like I said at the beginning, there are some lines. I have some HBCU drum lines that I really like. They didn't make my list this year.
Yeah, me also. You know, a couple of lines. You know, but like I said, it was a hard process. You know, to get that top 10.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, you know, the balance and the material. You know, they really, you know, stood out for me, and you know how I chose.
Cool.
Yeah.
So as we bring this to a close, everyone, if you got any questions, by all means, you know, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You know how to reach us. And, you know, we have some exciting things coming up for season 2. So please stay tuned. We have a lot of people that we'll be chatting with. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is the beginning of 2, the preference to season 2, or the prologue to season 2. So look forward for us.
Yes, you know, thank you for listening, and don't forget to hit the like button on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spotify. What else we got, Rick? No, not iTunes, Spotify,
iHeartRadio.
and yes, that's it. And Pandora. But just hit the like button. You know, share with your friends, family. Everybody have a safe Christmas, and we'll be starting back up. You know, talking to these schools in January. We got a couple of schools on the list already, so you know, stay tuned, and we catch y'all next year.
You guys be safe. We look forward to seeing you. Have a good evening.